Okay, so today we're going to be reviewing adding and subtracting integers. Again, this is just a review from 7th grade. So our two different rules that we had when we were in 7th grade was if we have the same signs, we're going to add and keep. And if we have different signs, we're going to subtract and we're going to keep the sign of the bigger number. So looking at, looking at example 1, we have -2 plus 3. So I know those are not the same signs, they're different signs because one's negative and one's positive. So when they're different signs, I'm going to subtract. So if I do 3 minus 2, I'm going to get 1. And then I'm going to keep the sign of the bigger number. So my bigger number is 3, so I know it's going to be positive. So I know it's going to be a positive 1. The other way we thought about it when we were using those like little counters is if you have 2 negatives and you have 3 positives, you can create 2 different 0 pairs, so those will cancel out and you'll be left with 1 positive. For example 2, we have -6 plus a -3, so I can see that those are both the same signs because they're both negative, so that means I'm going to add. So -6 plus -3 would be 6 plus 3 is 9, and then I keep the sign, so it's still going to be negative. So my answer would be a -9. Okay, so I want you to pause the video and I want you to try example 3 by yourself, and then once you're done, go ahead and click unpause, and then we'll do it together. Welcome back. So we have -2 plus, or no, sorry, not -2, 2 plus a -4. So I can see that they're different signs, so when they're different signs, I know I'm going to subtract. So 4 minus 2 would be 2, and then since they're different signs, I keep the sign of the bigger number, which is -4, so it's going to be -2. Looking at our next example, now I have 3 numbers, so it's not going to change. I'm just going to do basically 2 different problems now. So I have -6 plus 3 plus -10. So let's just look at just this first part first. So -6 plus 3, I have different signs, so that means I'm going to subtract. So I know 6 minus 3 is going to be 3. And then I keep the sign of the bigger number, so my bigger number is 6, so then it's going to be negative. So these 2 numbers I've already taken care of. So now we need to look at this last one. So now I have -3 plus a -10. So I know those are the same signs. So when they're the same signs, I know I add. So 3 plus 10 is 13. And then since they're the same signs, I keep the sign. So it's going to be negative. All right, so I want you to pause the video and try example 5, and then we'll go through it after when you're done. Okay, so I start with my first 2, so 2 plus -4. I can see those are different signs, so when they're different signs, I subtract. So I know 4 minus 2 is going to be 2. My bigger number is 4, which I can see is negative, so this can be a -2 plus a -8. Okay, so those are now the same signs, and I got the -8 from up here. So then those are the same signs, so now I'm going to add. So 2 plus 8 is 10, and then I keep the sign, which is negative. So my answer is going to be -10. Okay, now we're going to move on to subtraction. With subtraction, you always want to remember to KCC. Keep, change, change. So if I'm looking at this problem, I'm going to keep the first term the same. I'm going to change the subtraction to addition. I'm going to change the sign of the next number. So for this one, I'd have -2 plus, since this 5 is positive right now, it's going to become a -5. Now I just use my same rules. So since those are the same signs, I'm going to add. So 2 plus 5 is 7. And then I keep the sign, which is going to be negative. So a -7. Again, on this one, it's subtraction. So I'm going to keep, change, change. So I'm going to keep this one the same, change this to addition, change this one to be a negative. So I'm going to have 4 plus a -2. Or sorry, not -2. I don't know where I got that from. -6. So now when I look at this, I see there are different signs, so I know I'm going to subtract. So 6 minus 4 is 2. And I keep the sign of the bigger number, which is going to be 6, which is negative. Now you can see where I got that -2. Thinking too far ahead. All right. Number 8, I would like you to pause and try by yourself, and then once you're done trying it, we'll go through it together. So for this one, I have keep, change, change, since it's subtraction. To know if it's a subtraction or addition, just look at that sign in the middle, and you'll see that this is subtracting. So I'm going to keep the 5 the same, change this to addition, and I'm going to change this to be a positive 10. Well, we all know what 5 plus 10 is. It is 15. And you know that because they're the same sign, so we add, and they're both positive, so we keep the sign, which would be 15. Positive. All right, now we're to the ones where we have the 3 numbers. So these ones, you always have to do the first 2 of them first, the first 2, and then you can do the last one. So let's look at just this part. So I have -4 minus 3, so I'm going to keep, change, change. So now I'm going to have -4 plus a -3. So I can see that these are the same sign, so I know I'm going to add them together. So 4 plus 3 is 7, and then I'm going to keep the sign, which is negative. Now I can bring down this last part. So I'm going to have -7 minus a -2. Again, it's subtraction, so I have to keep, change, change. So I'm going to keep, change, change. So now I'm going to have -7 plus a +2, because that changes, because that was a -2. Now it changes to a +2. These are different signs, so I'm going to subtract. So 7 minus 2 is 5, and then I keep the sign of the bigger number, which is 7, and the 7's negative, so this is going to be negative. All right, and one last problem. I would like you to try this one by yourself first, and then we'll go through it together. So I am going to keep, change, change. So I'm going to have 10 plus a -12. These are different signs, so I know I'm going to subtract. So I'm going to have 12 minus 10, which is 2. And I keep the sign of the bigger number, which is 12, so I'm going to have -2. Now I'm going to bring down this second part, minus a -6. Let's change colors. I'm going to keep, change, change. And so I'm going to have -2 plus +6 now. Those are different signs, so I know I'm going to subtract. So I'm going to have 4, because 6 minus 2 is 4. And I keep the sign of the bigger number. The bigger number is 6, which is positive, so it's going to be a +4. Thanks for watching.